We've got a brand new Universal Champion, and it only took 21 seconds. What is up? GoodMicWork back at you. FastLane 2017 is in the books, and man, this one I assume is going to cause some controversy. The show just ended a little while ago. I put a Twitter poll up about 10 minutes ago, a couple of hundred votes on it so far. Overwhelmingly negative. Most people either did not like the show or wanted to slit their wrists. I've got mixed feelings on it, so as usual, I'm going to try my best to be objective here and see both sides of this thing. First of all, I do want to apologize. Different room of the house, different microphone, different audio in this episode. You guys do know that does happen from time to time. Probably won't be a very long commentary anyway, so it shouldn't matter, but I will be up here later this week with my Raw and SmackDown joint review, and everything will be back to normal. Let's jump right in to FastLane here. I don't know, man. What do you guys think? Was it that big of a disappointment? We got to start at the top, right? The main event. I had a feeling Goldberg might squash Kevin Owens. Not because Kevin Owens deserves to be squashed or anything like that, but because of how Goldberg has been booked. He hasn't been in the ring in 13 years. So far, since he's been back in WWE, he's worked a grand total of about 4 minutes. If they put him in there in a long match at Fastlane with Kevin Owens and the match sucked, that is really going to kill a lot of the momentum and a lot of the mystique behind this big Goldberg and Brock Lesnar rivalry. So I kind of thought that maybe Goldberg, since he squashed Brock, who's to say he can't squash Kevin Owens? The only saving grace in this thing for me is you guys have to look at the way the match went down. At least we had Chris Jericho. I mean, I loved what Kevin Owens did. He was toying with and trolling Goldberg, getting in and out of the ring, refusing to start the match. Every time Goldberg approached him, Kevin Owens would roll underneath the bottom rope. He kept stalling and stalling until finally it looks like he gets angry, jumps in the ring, gets right in Goldberg's face, instructs the referee to ring the bell, at which time Chris Jericho's music hits at the exact same time, which distracts Kevin Owens, of course. He turns his back. Goldberg nails him with a spear, beats him in 21 seconds, and wins the Universal title. So at least it wasn't a complete total squash. I had tweeted out right before Jericho made his appearance that Jericho should just hop over the barricade and toss Kevin Owens in the ring when he's fucking with Goldberg, and he can literally throw him right into a spear and a jackhammer, and Goldberg can win that way. But instead, Jericho just came out to the stage, and that was all Goldberg needed. Caught Owens from behind and surprised him, much like he did Brock Lesnar. Owens didn't even know what hit him, and next thing you know, Goldberg is the world champion. So I actually think putting the belt on Goldberg for the sake of the WrestleMania main event, doing it in a short amount of time, was the best way to do it, because I think the only time we need to see Goldberg have an extended match is when he works with Brock. We don't need to see it beforehand, because like I said, if that match would have sucked and Goldberg and Brock are supposed to main event, the fans could shit on it. They could be, uninterested during the build leading up to WrestleMania, and the whole thing could fall apart if Goldberg didn't perform well. At WrestleMania, he can just do it once and he's done, go into Hall of Fame next year and call it a career. So in that respect, I'm perfectly fine with the short match because I think it protects Goldberg. But I know on the other side of that coin, the entire wrestling world is freaking out about what happened to Kevin Owens. I can let it go because of Chris Jericho's interference. It's not like it was a burial or anything like that. Kevin Owens clearly has an excuse now. He's going to come out tomorrow night on Raw and say, God damn it, I told you guys that I had a strategy for beating Goldberg. I knew how to beat this guy. I was in the middle of executing my plan by playing mind games with Goldberg. He's so amped up and jacked and ready to fight, and I was trying to calm him down and dictate the pace of the match in my own way, and then this asshole Jericho comes out and fucks everything up and costs me my title, my Universal title that I should have never lost. I'm still the rightful champion. Jericho, I'm going to take your belt. Since you took my belt from me, I'm going to take your belt from you at WrestleMania. To me, that's a perfect setup. It really doesn't harm Owens that much. Plus, he'll probably beat Jericho at WrestleMania, you would think, and maybe become the U.S. champ, because Goldberg and Brock now with being a title match, and the winner of that will probably not drop the belt until SummerSlam, most likely. So Owens has got to do something else. So if they had to take the belt off of him, I think they did it really in the only way they could. I think they could have had a longer match if it was like The Rock. Remember when The Rock came back and worked with CM Punk? The Rock, I think, was a little bit more capable of having a match, and he was probably in better ring condition than Goldberg. I know Goldberg looks great. Don't get me wrong. That guy has got a body of a 30-year-old, and he's 50 years old. So him being in shape is no question, but he's still 50 years old. old. And when you look back at his career in the ring, he wasn't the most technically sound or great guy. I mean, his matches were supposed to be short to begin with, as to not expose his lack of wrestling ability. His wrestling ability has not gotten better in the last 13 years. It's probably gotten progressively worse. And if that would have been exposed in his match with Owens, that could have had disastrous effects on WrestleMania. So when you look at it that way, I can understand that they did what they did. It just sucks that Kevin Owens has to have a 21-second loss on his record, because you know that pisses off the internet when shit like that happens to internet favorite guys. So on that side of things, I completely understand, but you also have to understand that this does not kill Kevin Owens. I saw so many RIP Kevin Owens tweets and, oh, his career is shit now, might as well go back to NXT. Come on, don't get ahead of yourself here. And you also have to look at it from Kevin Owens' point of view, or anybody's point of view on the roster. So many fans are so quick to pass judgment on who deserves this and who deserves that. To me, if I'm a wrestler, if I'm Kevin Owens and I'm in my mid-30s and I'm a wrestler that grew up idolizing people like Goldberg, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I got a chance to work with them later on in my career when I became a wrestler, I would have no problem whatsoever jobbing to these guys in a few seconds. It would actually be an honor. And I think for fans to overreact and say, oh, Kevin Owens is dead now, what are you talking about? He worked a pay-per-view main event with an icon, a legendary figure in wrestling, a true Hall of Famer, and one of the most over guys this business has ever seen. There's no shame in that. So, it's one of those situations where I can see both sides. Anybody that's pissed off, I get it. We all liked Kevin Owens as the Universal Champion. It will not be his last World Championship. You know that. Kevin Owens is too goddamn good. The company trusts him too much in big match situations. He's had a lot of big time matches since he's been in that company. He's worked with every top guy. He's beaten everybody. Kevin Owens is not some buried piece of shit that has to hang his head in shame and is going to be working in New Day segments from here on out. You have to understand that it's not that bad. So anybody that's pissed off, I get it. Trust me, I love Kevin Owens as much as you do, and nobody likes to see that happen to somebody that we like. But when you look at the situation that they're in with Goldberg and Brock, the shorter the match for Goldberg prior to him meeting Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, the better, I feel. And that's what we did. Unfortunately, Kevin Owens was just the victim. So congratulations, I guess, to Goldberg. He's now Universal Champion. After not wrestling for 13 years, he comes back and has two matches that still total less than 2 minutes. His Survivor Series and FastLane match do not even add up to 2 minutes, do they? Wasn't the Survivor Series one like a minute 25? This one was 21 seconds, so we're looking at a minute 46. He hasn't even wrestled for 2 fucking minutes in 2 big pay-per-view matches. 2 big pay-per-view main events have not even totaled 2 minutes of ring time. That is pretty fucking amazing. And we could smell it too, because we saw earlier that they added those 2 matches, those impromptu bullshit matches with Jinder Mahal and Rusev earlier on in the show. And then we get to the Bayley-Charlotte match and we're realizing that we're running out of time. I mean, you don't really run out of time anymore because it's the WWE Network. If they want to go over, they can. I mean, the main event started with like 4 minutes left before the top of the hour. So we all had a feeling that this could be a really short match. I even cracked a joke on Twitter about Halloween Havoc 1998. I'm like, here we go again. Goldberg is in the main event of a pay-per-view in a title match and we are out of time. The pay-per-view could go off the air and we might not even know who wins this thing until tomorrow night on Raw. But they only wound up going a few minutes over, and Goldberg, of course, ended it early, and now he goes into Mania to face Brock. Now, this match now still has some intrigue. I mean, if Goldberg would have gone out there and had a 15 or 20-minute match and would have maybe gotten shown up a little bit by Kevin Owens, maybe Kevin Owens obviously outperformed Goldberg or carried him in the match, I think that could hurt his status for WrestleMania. So now, the way Goldberg has been tearing through everybody, Brock Lesnar twice and now Kevin Owens, it does add a little bit of interest, or a little bit more interest to their what will probably be predictable main event at WrestleMania, taking on Brock Lesnar. You got to think Brock is going to beat Goldberg and take that belt. You would have to think that, right? I mean, how can they do it any other way? But with Goldberg steamrolling all of his competition, at least it creates a little bit of doubt there. So the unbiased, objective side of me wants to be able to look at this thing both ways. I understand the fans' anger, but I also understand why the WWE did what they did. And it sets the table for a couple of matches at WrestleMania now. Of course, we know we got Brock and Goldberg for the belt, and we're going to get Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens also for a belt. So that's not that horrible. To me, I was actually much more disappointed with the Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman match. That was a match that I have to admit that I was like, oh well. You know, I thought it was a perfect opportunity if they are in fact going to do Roman Reigns versus Taker at WrestleMania. I guess that match will probably be set up I would assume tomorrow night on Raw. I mean, I have a really strong feeling that if they're going to do that match at WrestleMania, Raw tomorrow is where it takes place. I wouldn't even be surprised if Braun Strowman gets a victory tomorrow night over Roman Reigns instead. They might do a rematch. Maybe Braun Strowman demands that he gets Roman Reigns one more time. Mick Foley gives it to him, and then Undertaker makes his return and costs Roman Reigns the match and gives the victory to Braun Strowman. But is it too little too late? I mean, that was a pretty hard-fought match. Those guys worked pretty well together. It was a hard-fought, grueling brawl, just like we knew it would be. Some pretty crazy spots. I think Braun even power-slammed Roman through the announce table at one point. And then the top rope splash. I mean, I was almost having a heart attack with Strowman standing up there. He jumped off in an attempt to fucking Eddie Guerrero frog splash Roman Reigns or something like that. Roman moves out of the way and Braun crashes to the mat, and I think he hit him with one final spear or Superman punch or whatever it was to finally put away Braun Strowman, who took a lot of Superman punches and a lot of spears and a lot of punishment. So, this was not a squash or a burial by any means, but I was a little bit surprised that Roman Reigns got the victory here, considering that they had a really easy way to give him a loss without him losing face. But again, every situation has two sides. You also have to think that if he is going to Mania to face The Undertaker, which I'm not even completely convinced at this point is going to happen. It seems like they need to get on it here, so we'll probably find out tomorrow night on Raw. But if that, in fact, is the plan, then sure, giving Roman a big victory over a big opponent, giving him some momentum going into his WrestleMania match with a big-time icon like The Undertaker, that makes sense too, especially when you consider what a bad year Roman has had so far. He lost twice at the Royal Rumble. He's gotten his ass handed to him by Braun Strowman week after week. He's suffered a loss to Samoa Joe. He's not had the best of years. So for him to get a pay-per-view victory here, I would normally not complain about, but I was really hoping that they were going to build Braun Strowman. I mean, there was talk of putting the belt on this guy, a potential feud with Brock Lesnar in the future or something like that. So I think they can still put him in WrestleMania, have him win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. That really seems like the only logical thing to do with Braun at this point. And it's a little bit of a bummer. I actually really wanted Braun Strowman to win. In another relatively surprising finish, Charlotte's pay-per-view victory streak in title matches has come to an end. Bayley beat her at FastLane. I couldn't believe it. I was actually a little bit disappointed about this one too. If Charlotte is going to lose that streak, a streak that WWE is making a big deal out of, you would think they would want to wait until WrestleMania or SummerSlam or something like that. I had Charlotte pegged easily to win back this belt and then maybe drop it at WrestleMania in a four-way or something like that if they chose to go in that direction. But Bayley beat her, retained the title, and I guess she's heading off to WrestleMania now to defend the title. There was no Sasha heel turn either. She even interfered in this match. She's a big reason why Bayley retained that title, which is going to give Charlotte, of course, an excuse tomorrow night on Raw to figure out some sort of a way for her to get another match, and they will probably set up a four-way, I'm guessing, at WrestleMania. So Sasha coming out, at least helped Charlotte in that respect, but we thought she might turn on Bayley, and she didn't. So they haven't done the Sasha heel turn yet. They might do it on Raw. They might do it at Mania. They might wait until after Mania. Eventually, you have to think that that's inevitable, but it hasn't happened yet, and Sasha was out there to support Bayley 100% and helped her retain the title. So I guess good for Bayley, but a little bit of a letdown that Charlotte's streak ended in that way. Speaking of Sasha, her match surprised the shit out of me too. She actually beat Nia Jax, and another big kind of a letdown. I mean, I love Sasha. I really do. I like her a lot. Some people give her shit. I don't have any problem with her at all. I think she's great. Other than Charlotte, she's one of my favorite women that they have. I'm not completely sold on Nia. I would have much preferred just keeping her in NXT. She came up to the WWE so fast, and then they built her, beating all these jobbers and everything, and, eventually she's going to have to lose somewhere. And Sasha did put on a hard-fought match. I mean, she was getting her ass kicked by Nia Jax. She kept fighting. Very tenacious, wouldn't give up, and then finally caught her in that little roll-up thing at the end there and got the pin and kind of surprised Nia Jax. So it was a little bit of an upset. It wasn't like Sasha tapped her out to the bank statement or anything like that. Nia was very dominant, but in the end, Sasha found a way to score a quick pinfall. So they surprised me there too. I thought for sure Nia would win, and maybe Sasha would be frustrated later in the night and she'd come back out and turn heel or whatever, but that didn't happen. So I guess right now we're probably looking at a four-way. When you look at the four women's contenders, they all have a claim to this belt. So Charlotte can obviously want a rematch. Sasha got a big victory over Nia Jax, and then Nia herself is a big beast. So they're either doing a 3-way or a 4-way. Maybe Nia won't even be in the match. I would think she would be. I mean, it could be a 3-way with Sasha and Bayley and Charlotte. But putting Nia in there, I think, adds another dimension, because otherwise it would just be a handicap match with Sasha and Bayley beating the hell out of Charlotte the whole match. So a 4-way at this point seems likely, and I guess they'll probably set that up in the next week or two on Raw. In a match outcome that I actually liked, Gallows and Anderson did retain the tag team titles by defeating Enzo and Cass. I had predicted Enzo and Cass to possibly win by disqualification, keeping them in the title hunt, and they can be part of a 3 or 4-way at WrestleMania for the tag belts, but that didn't happen. Gallows and Anderson looked pretty good. They beat the hell out of Enzo, like everybody seems to do, and I thought the match was pretty good. It was a pretty exciting tag team match. I can't even remember who took the pin, but I remember whoever it was had their foot on the rope, and I think Anderson kind of shoved it off at the last minute, and they got the pin. Very good tag team work. It showed the cagey and kind of veteran type moves that Gallows and Anderson are capable of, and they're just a very good tag team. And it was nice to see them win a match properly for once, and I'm glad that they retained. So it looks like they're heading into WrestleMania to probably take on either Sheamus and Cesaro, or a 3 or 4-way, much like the women's title situation. So no complaints whatsoever with Gallows and Anderson retaining. I am thrilled. Great opening match, too, to FastLane. They opened up with Samoa Joe and Sami Zayn. Very brutal, very hard-hitting match. Sami Zayn took an absolute ass-kicking, and he passed out to Samoa Joe's finisher. I mean, he tried. He had a valiant effort, but Joe in the end was too much. Joe is very believable. I really like what they're doing with Samoa Joe right now. I would love to see him be a potential opponent for Brock Lesnar in the future or something like that. The guy looks like an absolute ass kicker, and when he comes down to the ring, he looks like he wants to murder somebody. You can see it in his face, and he's just a badass. So I am Team Samoa Joe right now, and if Triple H does ever want to reform some sort of a faction, I think him standing there with Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe, despite the fact that they're not in the best of shape. I know a lot of people like to comment about how fat they are and stuff like that, but they're awesome wrestlers, and I think they would make a great pair in any sort of Triple H faction. I hope they do that one day. But for right now, Samoa Joe is scary as hell. He's being booked like a monster. He's beating everybody. They've been giving him really good opponents, like Roman Reigns and Cesaro and Sami Zayn. I mean, he is mowing down all of them, and I would assume at some point after WrestleMania, he will probably work with Seth Rollins as well, and those are going to be some awesome matches. Neville and Jack Gallaher, incidentally, did put on a hell of a match tonight at FastLane. Neville did retain the Cruiserweight title. I was very happy to see that. And the match was brutal. Man, Jack Gallaher took an ass-kicking. He had cuts and bruises all over himself. Really good Cruiserweight match. When I look at all of the Cruiserweight title matches that they have done on pay-per-view so far, this one might rank as my favorite. Lots of good stuff in this match. Jack Gallaher is so entertaining. His style is so different and so innovative, and it's just a nice breath of fresh air. And he had a lot of close calls tonight, really close near falls. He almost had that belt won a couple of times, but in the end, Neville showed what a badass he was, and I was hoping Neville would keep the belt. I love Neville in his new heel character, and I think he carries that belt well, and I was hoping that he would at least carry it into WrestleMania. It looks like that will indeed happen. I've got to give those two a lot of credit as well for really picking the crowd back up, because we had two really shitty matches that were just thrown in as filler out of nowhere. And FastLane was off, I think, to such a decent start with the Samoa Joe and Sami Zayn match, and then the Gallows and Anderson, Enzo and Cass match, and then they had all this bullshit in there. I guess they're doing the thing with Rusev, who's got a brand new haircut, the same haircut that every other fucking guy on planet Earth currently has right now. He's got his tag team thing with Jinder Mahal going on. They haven't been getting along. They're backstage with Mick Foley. By the way, Stephanie was not there. I should mention that real quick as well. He had her on speakerphone. Apparently her plane was delayed or whatever the fuck, and they had her on speakerphone, and she's just as much of a cunt on the phone as she is in person, and she's just giving it to Mick Foley on speakerphone. You better have your shit together tonight, and this show better go well in my absence, and don't fuck up or it's going to be your ass. All this crap. So she wasn't even on the show, but Mick Foley was, and he finds himself back there with Rusev and Jinder Mahal. And then I kind of missed what he was saying, but I heard him say something about a best of 7 series. So I guess these guys are going to do the Sheamus and Cesaro thing, possibly, and do a best of 7. But he sends them both out there to have matches. Jinder has his match first, after he's done brawling with Rusev, by the way, and he's got to take on Cesaro. And normally I would never complain about seeing Cesaro on pay-per-view. He belongs on pay-per-view, but this match was completely meaningless, and it was just filler. It was something that we could easily see on Raw. They had a nice 10 or 11 minute match, and Cesaro got the victory. And then Rusev had to have a match, and his opponent was the Big Show. I was kind of smelling Titus O'Neil or something like that. But they sent the Big Show out there, and Big Show beat him. So Jinder lost his match. Rusev lost his match. The whole thing was fucking meaningless. I don't know if this means these guys are going to have a best-of-7 series now moving forward or not. They might just be rehashing the Sheamus and Cesaro thing. I don't know, which could actually work. And what the hell's going on with Jinder Mahal fucking working out? He looks like he's just roided out of his mind. I mean, damn, has he gotten himself into some ridiculous shape there. But, you know, they did sign the guy. They brought him back recently, and he's done absolutely nothing. So this is an opportunity for him to do something with Rusev. And I would still like to think that one day Rusev can get back into a bigger position on the card, maybe even be United States champion one day or get some world title matches. I think the guy's great. He's hilarious, good wrestler, good look, hilarious on the mic. He's got potential, and I would like to see them quit fucking around with Rusev. So whenever this shit with Jinder Mahal is over, I would like them to do something a little bit more serious again with Rusev. I think we're all ready for that. Other than that, what am I missing? The kickoff match, right? I did predict Tozawa and Rich Swann to win that. They did. And as far as my predictions go, I got a lot of matches wrong on this. I was wrong about Bayley and Charlotte. I was wrong about Sasha and Nia. I was wrong about Roman and Strowman. And I was wrong about the tag team title match as well. So I did not do a very good job in my predictions this time. But it is what it is. We are officially in WrestleMania mode now. I guess tomorrow night on Raw will shed a lot of light on what we're going to see at WrestleMania, and we should have a pretty good idea. I think by tomorrow night after Raw, we should have at least 75% of the card figured out in our mind. So that is it for me tonight. I am out of here. Like I said, I will be up here later this week with my joint Raw and SmackDown review, so keep a lookout for that very late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. Until then, leave me all your opinions down below in the comments about FastLane. I know most people did not like this show, and I can understand why. Trust me, if anybody wants to shit all over this show, I'm not necessarily going to disagree with you. So if you didn't like any of my defense of some of the WWE's booking decisions earlier, I really don't know what to tell you. I just try to look at things from both sides. WWE is not perfect. They make a lot of mistakes, and they do a lot of head-scratching shit. And tonight at WWE FastLane was no different. Here's to hoping that WrestleMania will be much, much better. I will catch you guys in just a few days. If you would like to join me and live tweet with me tomorrow night during Raw, I will be up on Twitter, so follow me at GoodMicWork to get all my thoughts on Monday Night Raw, and I will catch you later on in the week with my Raw and SmackDown review. Enjoy the next few days, take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you very soon. Until next time, peace.